The word on the street regarding health is hydrate. The new word regarding that is live, spelled L-I-V. So get out and live life well with products and systems made with new technology that you simply add to or take with water. You hydrate, lose weight, cleanse your system, gain energy, and it is all natural. Go to mylivezone.com/Kawada to find out more. Live, L-I-V zone.com/Kawada. Let's all get out and live life well. Well, Tiff, this is going to be a fun Dave and Tiff podcast today because it's all going to be about you. Well, sort of, because you came back. We're going to talk some men's volleyball, University of Hawaii, because the national champions are the University of Hawaii men's volleyball team. You're the play-by-play voice. You had the opportunity to be there, call it, experience it, the whole season, the growth of this program, everything you want. The season has finally come to that, like you said on the radio, the goal at the end of the rainbow, a national championship. So we'll be having head coach CHARILIE Wade join us. But before we even get to him, and we got some other stuff, I just got to ask you, shed some light on the experience. You got the backdrop of the arena at Ohio State. Give it to me.
It was so much fun, and like you have been on a couple of matches this year on the call up at Santa Barbara. It was nice to finally have live fans in attendance, and it's something that head coach CHARILIE Wade has mentioned throughout the last week and a half or so. Once we all knew that there would be fans at the Covelli Center, just to have live voices, live fans. Everyone, of course, understood the reason behind as to why UH didn't have fans for regular season, as well as the entire Big West, and of course the Big West Championship presented by the Hawaiian Islands. To have live fans, more so to have friends and family. Yes, it was a limited number of people. The fact that you were able to have mom and dad, brother, sister, auntie, uncle, grandma, grandpa, to have family watch their sons live for the first time this year, the first two times that is, it was special. And to be able to be there live with 175 of my closest friends wearing green and white. Once they came in last week, Thursday, against UC Santa Barbara, and you hear, let's go Bows. You saw the Hawaiian flags. You saw the tea leaf. You just felt their presence. And as soon as they walked in, the guys who were on the floor in warm-ups could see out of the corner of their eye, in their peripheral, friends and family coming in. And you could just tell, like, it was a lot different of emotions. It was a different type of feeling for these guys that we finally had people, fans, family in attendance.
Well, we are all very excited and happy to be joined by national champion head coach of the University of Hawaii men's volleyball team, CHARILIE Wade. First of all, two questions. Have you slept at all since you came back from the national championship? And second question, how was yesterday? You had a Charlie ride through downtown, a stop with the governor and the mayor of Honolulu. Have you slept, and how was yesterday?
Sleeping has been minimal. Yesterday was a full day. I was up at 4:15 and, in the back of the arena by 5:30, and but it was a great day, and all the TV stations in the morning, and all the different ceremonies and the trolley ride. And I think at the end, that was the first time we looped around from when we left Bishop and King and went through Ala Moana and then through Waikiki. And that was the first time I just got to sit back and relax for a while, and just watching Rado and the rest of the boys singing and smiling. It was awesome. It was a good day for sure.
I know, at least with and you hear about how NCAA tournaments, the way they do it is pretty regimented. You're going from one thing to the next to the next. You're in that bubble as well. I'm wondering, once you won the championship, and of course you have all your media obligations, so there's a bit of a frenzy afterwards, the awards. The first time you actually had some time to yourself, whenever that was, who was the first person you contacted when you had that chance?
Well, I wasn't able. It was the first time I had any time to myself when I was sitting on a plane on the way back, and can't really contact anybody, and just got to kind of decompress for a little. but it's been a whirlwind for sure. And I've reached out to, some of the people who have been important to me throughout my career and stuff. And I just got through the 500 plus text messages, and I really am going to get to the emails here, hopefully today in earnest, and can get back to some of those people as well. But it's been a pretty full week for sure.
Coach, when did you realize what the team had accomplished? Like, when did it first hit you that this is going to happen, that we're going to win the national championship during that match on Saturday?
Yeah, part of me, it was going into it, let me first say, and Josh and I were having, discussion literally up until our scouting meeting, and kind of, looking at what we were going to tweak in terms of the matchups if we needed to. But at the end of it, the biggest statistical difference was our reception to theirs. And, it is just stats, which are the history, so you don't really know how it's going to go. But we knew that if we received well, that we could neutralize. That was their big strength. So going into it, we felt pretty confident. If we do it, and then watching them on Thursday, if they do it, they do, and we do it, we do. We felt that in that year, since we had played them before, we were playing at a lot higher level, and it was going to show. So we liked our chances, and then warm-ups. And I've said this, I saw Colton in warm-ups, and that's the Colton that we've not seen live in matches too often, but he was fully engaged. And then I was cringing a little when his first two swings were airs, but he came back to the service line and just hi-yawed the serve and got an ace. It's like he was pretty dialed in, and we put that on the floor with Pat and Rado. Jake's playing great. Gage is playing great. Chaz is playing great. We were feeling pretty good about ourselves, and then as the match unfolded, like I said, there were times where it seemed like we were farther ahead than we were. That's kind of rally scoring, but I thought we were, in control the whole time.
175 friends and family were allowed in for every Hawaii match. To have friends and family of the players, but also having your wife, Tani, and all three of your boys in attendance, how special was that for you?
Yeah, it was awesome, and it really, I think, again, looking back at it and in the moment, really to me, it felt like, okay, this is us, right? This is real. This is what we're used to. The fans may have meant more to us, and, which means the lack of fans hurt us more than it did other teams, because, they are such a big part of us. And I've said, seeing real faces and real voices and having those people there, and the sound, like I said, for me, I would have lost the bet. If you had told me it was 1,700 or 17,000, I would have picked those before I picked 175. It just felt like it was a lot bigger deal. And for us, we're used to playing in front of our crowds, and it really has been a motivation, for all of us. Like, hey, we know it's more than just us. It's everyone. So it was awesome. There ain't no doubt that I think that it mattered. It mattered for us for sure.
You've always explained to both Dave and myself over the years of linking serving with golfing terms. And is there anybody on this roster that throughout their career still doesn't quite get the golfing analogy?
No, it's just whether they can execute it or not, right? Because they're young guys, and some of them still pull driver when they, pulling driver when you're in the sand trap is bad advice, right? That's a bad choice. You're in the sand trap, you got a different tool you need to get out of there. So I think they all understand them, but they still like to pull driver. And look, I'm all for, we'd talk too about being aggressive is not always velocity, right? There's other ways to play it. We just want to take double bogey out of play, right?
You talked about the serve receive game, and on the ESPNU broadcast with Paul Sunderland and Kevin Barnett, they use the word great. And this is a phrase that these two Olympic broadcasters don't use very often. They use your Hawaii receive game as great. Talk about why it was so great between Gage and Chaz and Colton.
Well, it was really good. Like I said, that was the one category statistically we were way better than them. And I said to the guys before the match when we were in our meeting room that there was, I mean, this is just a statistical anomaly that all three of our receivers in the last 5 matches, because I will say not on the year, but for the last 5 matches, and that's how typically the data set that we look at, right? All 3 of them were passing the exact same number, like 2 decimal places over. It's still the same number. And it just, the point I was making is like, look, we're all really good. You guys really got this. You need to work together. We do talk about to hyper communicate, so you don't get the I go, you got it, that they're both going to it. So you saw that. You didn't see any of the I go, you got it, the neck, like hubby wife, go ahead. So we were covering the court really well. And then just some great individual effort. Obviously, these guys are well skilled, but the one that is susceptible to everyone is the fastball that goes to the right back, kind of right front, right back seam, right? What we call the 1-2 cutty. And I don't remember if it was Gabby or Gardini. One of those guys cracked one, and Gage sprawls out, and we bounce a quick set off it. Like, that's deflating for their team because that's how they score. Everybody scores on that. That ball scores everywhere in the world, right? And when you're a team that's most of your scoring is generated from the service line, and even that one, not only are you not scoring, but they're running fast, either bouncing in the middle or running bick off, your best servers. It'll rattle you a little. You got to what do we do? We can't stop them siding out and we can't score on them. The big answer to your question in a long way is they're really skilled, playing with a lot of confidence and communicating and just all out effort, just completely dialed in.
We're talking with the national champion head coach of the University of Hawaii men's volleyball team, Charlie Wade, taking some time in a fun, exciting, busy, tiring week post national championship. I know I've heard many coaches talk about the goal is to have that perfect game or that perfect match in which, 90% of the technique and the efficiency kind of happens. It's one thing to have that happen in a regular season. It's even better if it's a big rivalry type game. But then, at least from the announcers and what we saw, it came pretty close in a national championship game. On your perspective, was it pretty close to that quote unquote perfectly executed match? And if it was, how warming is that as a coach to see that really come out in front of your eyes?
I mean, I've been doing this long enough to know that some of it's timing, and it was kind of, we played well, and then we got in their head going. And like I said, we took away what they do well. Our servers were better than our receivers, and our receivers were better than their servers. And I said going into it, I think this is going to be a classic serve and pass battle, and who wins that's going to win the match. And it did. And I never really think about having that in a match. We try to create that at practice every day. And, and I said the execution only comes when the level of engagement is there. And this is where the San Diego match for us was, that was a kick in the teeth, really. That really, and it was on us. And we're not taking anything away from San Diego. They played great, playing free and playing at a high level. But obviously we were off. We're not, Ratto gets hit in the foot with the ball and we let overpasses fall. That stuff, and they're still due sets. We're losing. But post that match, it was about the level of engagement, and that started with your posture, your body language, your communication, like what you're looking at people. Are you looking down? Are you, what we say, head up, shoulders back, and everybody fully engaged. And we really talked about that and measured it as best we could every day after that San Diego, every day at practice. When we got to we were drawing that attention. Are you engaged? Are you going for balls? We started having it more where, if you gave us this one, my bad, and let it fall, where you looked and didn't go for it, we would have what we call protect this house. We're practicing the Stan Sheriff Center, and there's that Under Armour sign at the top of the arena, and it's like, you let a ball fall and not going it, go. take off and run. And I'm telling you, it was Colton, Rado. There was no one that was like, hey, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. And it really kind of upped the level. It had that level of engagement. We saw that in every practice leading up to it. And then you saw it in both the semifinals and the finals, that we had just got to a point. And even in our scrimmages in Ohio, we talk about it. We're doing the A side, and it's not really A side, B side. It's A side, A plus side. And the team who had the best posture and the best body language and the best energy level was executing the highest also in winning. And so it really got to be a thing where it's like, and if you look over there and they're super confident and really into it, then your only option is to elevate, to get more engaged.
All coaches have, bonding relationship with players, and every coach this season, because of returning seniors, have had an extra year with players that have been there like 4 years and stuff. You've had this joyride, if you will, with this senior class, returning seniors who have kind of stuck together and returned for this goal. Kind of give us a little bit of that relationship and your feelings of these seniors who have culminated with this national title.
Yeah, I mean, they're great guys. There's no doubt. I mean, that's not just cliche. These are good young men. Colton, I'm around all the time. He's helping me coach my son's team, so we see each other a lot. Rado is a guy that's always up here on the third floor, coming in and checking in with the coaches. And I called him last night before he got on the plane too, and just, there was just so much joy in watching him yesterday, and he's really appreciative to everything that he's had here. And that is a guy I think that you'll see back in this community. I think he really looks at this as home and a place where he'd like to raise his children, and so that won't be shocking to see him after he's done with his greatness as a volleyball player coming back here. And I would say the one guy that the year was the best, the relationship wise, was Pat. And I had Pat up here. I'm in my office now, and Pat was. I made sure that the seniors came up and we got a chance to kind of debrief and talk a little bit. And Pat and I didn't always see eye to eye, and I had some tough love for Pat throughout his career, and would hold him accountable and kick him out of practice. And and he understood too. And I think this year it helped him kind of look, I'm just holding you accountable, and I'm just getting you to try to be the best version of you. And I think he appreciates that. But he and I had a chance too, I think, to leave on a way healthier and better relationship. Not that it was horrible last year, but I just think this year too. And, with it even goes into like the van assignments, right? Like when we're on the road, and for the last couple trips, I made sure that Pat was in my van. So we got a chance to just talk story and hang out, when you're driving from point A to point B a little bit. And Pat and Rado, or Pat and Colton, Pat and Rado are in there, and just those seniors getting a chance to bond together in those moments, and just letting them go. And, although I don't let them play their music very much, usually I'm in control of the radio, but they did find some appreciation for, some of the stuff I listen to, and I let them have their moment once in a while. But it was great. I mean, that part, having them come back and going through the whole year, and this group's been through a lot, good and bad. There was ups and downs, and for them to come through and finish at the pinnacle is really gratifying.
Last question, Coach. You're going to take some vacation time a little bit before you kind of get back into the groove and grind of everything again?
That doesn't really happen for a while. Maybe maybe August, if we can, my family, we go and head up to the Big Island. We got a place up in Waimea. That's just, for those that have been up there, it's unbelievable. I mean, that's where Kamehameha went to recharge, and it's a pretty spiritual place. Awesome. I'd love to be able to get up there, but that doesn't look like it's going to happen for a couple months. But it's all good. Like I said, that those 93 minutes in Columbus, Ohio, we've been doing the right thing for a long time, but it certainly has seemed that it's changed in a good way for our program. And for everybody associated with it. So super grateful for you guys, and the support and just exposure that you give us and all the people in Hawaii that have meant so much to the program. It's been a hell of a ride. Thank you. And all we're going to do is just keep doing what we're doing. We'd love nothing more than to be back in this situation again next year.
Oh, I know Tiff will love it. I'll love it if you can be back in that
Yes.
situation again. And the best part about going to the Big Island, if you got your COVID vaccination, you don't have to go through all that pre-post testing stuff. So that's a good call by you, going to the Big Island.
Right on.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, national champions, and good luck for the rest of the summer. Hope you get some time to sleep a little bit, and we look forward to next season.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Award-winning Hawaii sports writer Cindy Lewis shares her love of volleyball and other sports topics with her new website, cindylewis.com. After nearly 40 years of covering the top events in Hawaii, Cindy brings her reporting flair and insight to the digital format for all to enjoy. Get the very latest information on University of Hawaii volleyball for all teams, women, men, and beach, from one of the most respected journalists in the state. Go to cindylewis.com and you will be connected. Over 30 years of experience of covering Hawaii sports and telling stories can be found with BedrockSportsHawaii.com. Hawaii sports writer Nick Abramo shares his passion for insight, news, and opinions, along with stories and tales in what he calls the inexhaustible universe of athletics. Football, surfing, hockey, yes, hockey, and wrestling are some of the featured content you will find on BedrockSportsHawaii.com. Unfortunately, earlier this week, we're recording this on a Thursday, May 13th, but on May 11th, 2 days ago, we had that unfortunate news that one of the most popular athletes at the University of Hawaii, Colt Brennan, quarterback of the football team on that 2008 Sugar Bowl team, undefeated 2007 regular season WAC champion team, had passed away, aged 37. Naturally here, that kind of hit a lot because of his ongoing popularity. I mean, people don't realize that although his playing days were over a decade ago, his name and his status was still very high, even despite the challenges he was going through and what has come out to be, and more people are aware, his kind of decline with the injury from the car accident that affected his mental stability, his physical challenges health-wise, that led to his, decline and unfortunate situation, which he passes away at a very, very young age. What's your recollections of Colt Brennan? Wearing the jersey.
Right here.
Look at
It's
that.
right there. And it's something that when head coach Charlie Wade talked about, all the ceremonies and everywhere the team went yesterday, he made it a point to open up all of his statements with remembering of Colt Brennan, and a guy that could have left after 2006, entered the NFL draft, and could have been a second round, late first round, early second round, turned down a lot of money. And, the hashtag that men's volleyball had here in 2021 of unfinished business, Colt Brennan decided to come back for his senior year. And a lot of kids, a lot of young athletes that, if you've seen the post that Rob Lamella from KHON2 Sports did earlier in the week, guys like Tuatongo Vailoa, Mackenzie Milton, Marcus Mariota, those guys all mentioned about watching Colt as they grew up, and he became a big influence, a guy that never turned down an autograph, a guy that never turned down a picture with a friend or, friend, family, fan, other students, a guy that always gave back his time. And he's the reason why a lot of people made it to their TVs at 1 a.m. in the morning on the East Coast because they wanted to see Hawaii football late Saturday night, early Sunday morning, because of the way he played and the way he carried himself. And sure, there were a lot of people that were, doubting that team against UW in the finale of the regular season, down 21-0. I'm in my dorm room in college watching the game, and with a lot of Hawaii fans, a lot of Hawaii kids, and some are like, "Oh, this game's over." Like, no, you don't give up on your team until the final whistle, until the clock hits zero. And we know what the BCS was, with the Bowl Championship Series. A lot of people felt BCS should have been renamed to Because Colt Stayed. It's a year that Hawaii fans will never forget, a year that more than likely may never happen again for this program, and it's sad. We all saw what happened, after, his time with the Redskins or the Washington football team now was done. Like you mentioned with the accident and, that whole situation, it's tough. And, we're all trying to remember him as best as we can, and, keep him in our thoughts and our prayers. And, my condolences, and I'm thinking of his family, that, for what they've had to go through the last, not just few days since his passing, but, for the last few years. And I know that first home game at TC Ching Complex is going to be great. It's going to be awesome to have a first home game. That first home game is going to be awesome on campus. I know there's going to be some sort of remembrance, moment of silence. I really hope that there's a way on the field, when you look at the yard markings on the field, when you go from 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, whatnot, I really hope that on the 15-yard line, they can put maybe the initials of CB or just the number 15, because he meant a lot to a lot of people. And it's just a tough situation for a lot of Hawaii fans out here.
Yeah, and when you think about when he was a student athlete here, what I think just connected with the fandom, aside from the fact that they were winning and he was very successful, he becomes a Heisman finalist and so forth and so on, was that, his personality was such, everybody, if there's a little tinge or something about a person's personality, at some point when someone is that popular, someone's going to say something about, oh yeah, well, he's kind of moody, or this, that, or the other thing. I never heard anything negative about this guy, who was very much in the public eye for a good 3 years here and then some, because of his popularity. People always say, teammates said he connected with the local culture very well, very humble despite his star status and his popularity, and always said the right things, always was grateful for the second chance that head coach June Jones gave him after the problems he had at the University of Colorado. Very appreciative of how Hawaii accepted him without judgment based on his history. And he continued to say that even when he, post-career, was having issues with being arrested for a DUI, the troubles with his health, and so forth and so on, that he still felt that people here supported him, which is probably one of the reasons why he stayed in Hawaii for such a long time after his playing career. I think he went back to the mainland only within the past 5 years. So, it's a proud person to think about as a person, but it's a very sad story to hear what transpired after it. And it brings up a lot of things like dealing with mental health issues, dealing with physical trauma, to his body, and how an individual person, even though as positive he was, he could not handle that. It's so hard to handle all of those things happening, which may have or may not have led to some of the negative things that occurred that added to his, later years in his life. But it's good to remember what he was.
He's also a guy that always gave, all his time. And you saw him on the sidelines up on the North Shore, helping out the Kahuku football team any chance he could get to give back to, like a Rich Miano speed and quickness camp, or various other camps and clinics. He was always present. He always had a welcome invitation to a UH football practice. You saw him on the sidelines from time to time at games, and fans would always, seek him out and, just say, hey, welcome back, good seeing you, and always would always tell him, where they were at certain moments of his career, whether it was, the game at San Jose State, the bowl game against Georgia, the home game against Boise State, the bowl victory over Arizona State. But he was always a guy that was playing checkers when defenses were playing chess. And I always hear the story of he learned Samoan at the University of Hawaii. only to use that knowledge to help out with audibles at the line, to communicate with his offensive line based off of the coverages he would see, and he would speak those cadences in Samoan, and the only people that would understand it were his offensive line. And you can just see the looks on the faces of the defense, and they're just like, what is he talking about? So it's a guy that was always trying to learn, no matter if it was in English, Samoan, or any other language, because he wanted to be playing checkers while everybody was playing chess.
Yeah, I mean, a sad story, but he had a great career, and he'll always be one of the most popular student athletes at the University of Hawaii, and his legacy will definitely live on. We segue into
and he made that visor look so cool.
He did.
On that green helmet, it looks so sweet.
Remember when he dyed his hair and he had the Hawaii Island chain on the side? I mean, you gotta love Hawaii if you're going to willing to do that in your hair. So I mean, that tells you a lot, right there, in how he enjoyed being here. It segues into something I want to touch on a little bit, is kind of moving forward with college sports in general. As the college season is now winding down, there's a couple of things that have come up. The now Division I basketball and football, they're going to allow student athletes to transfer, and that's been kind of this big word, the transfer portal, that was already in place, making it easier. But now in those sports, athletes can transfer without sitting out a year. So that's going to make it even easier for players to transfer. So you're going to see way more mobility moving forward. The student athletes taking advantage of their likeness. Now they can be compensated if their number or their name is being used. Cole Brennan could take advantage of the fact of jersey sales with his number, like what you're wearing now, where back then and up until this year, you could not. The other thing is the Olympic sports. And when I say that, I target volleyball, men's volleyball, Stanford dropping men's volleyball, and maybe other minor, quote unquote, minor sports like a kayaking or golf or wrestling that are going to fall victim or have fallen victim because of the pandemic, because of lack of revenue, no fans, so forth and so on. How chain reaction will that be? Will other student athletes suddenly lose opportunities moving forward?
Well, I'm not sure if you saw this one, Dave, but Hartford University, who was a Division I member, they've recently dropped their athletic program all the way down to Division III.
And there's that, right? Schools not able to stay in Division I or even Division II, whether it be financial or they're cutting the required amount of sports you need to sponsor, whatever the case may be. There's this trend that these three issues are going to kind of continue to be sort of top of mind as college sports moves on into next year and maybe the next 5 years, I think.
It really will. And it's, I'm happy for the student athletes that are able to, make this money off of their likeness, because as we've seen for years, it's been a big issue. And yes, you're only supposed to have a certain amount of hours, that you're in the gym or within your sport. But, we all know that they spend way more time over the maximum per week, per month. It's a full-time job. And if you're at a Power 5 school in a big limelight type sport, like i.e. a football or men's basketball, in some cases, women's basketball, if you're looking at like a Baylor or UConn, it's basically like another class. It's a full-time job. And yes, you hear the argument from people, oh, they get repaid in their scholarship. No, that's totally not true. There's way more things that these student athletes have to do while they are in school, and yes, they're at the school because of their sports, but they're having to do a lot more, and they don't see anything. Coaches can come and go whenever they want. They can go to another school within their own conference. They can go to another school around the country. They don't have to sit out. So a lot of people, and I agree, if the coach can leave at any moment and coach the next season, what's not to say the student athlete can't do the same?
My thing is, I think there's going to be greater separation on two fronts. One is the major conferences, the mid-majors, and everyone else because of the money factor. When you consider capitalizing on your likeness, who's going to provide more compensation to your likeness than the major schools and the major conferences? The mid-major schools are going to just separate even more and more from the haves and the have-nots. And then also in the student athletes with sports, men's basketball and football are going to start to separate because of that likeness issue, because where is more of the marketability? It's those student athletes in those sports compared to men's volleyball, compared to lacrosse, compared to cross country. So men's volleyball, is it 4.7 scholarships that they have to spread out?
Yeah. Men's volleyball has 4.5, baseball has 11.7, but you also talk about just the exposure during the postseason. And we'll take, for instance, men's volleyball. You had six matches within the national championship. Only one was on a viable platform on ESPNU. Men's lacrosse, their tournament begins this week. Every single game is on an ESPN platform. The beach volleyball championships that were this past weekend in Alabama, every single match within a duel, those were on TV. Baseball has regionals, super regionals, College World Series on TV platforms. Same for softball. Every single men's basketball game within the NCAA tournament, whether it's TNT, TBS, True TV, CBS, that's on a major network. So they're yes, you understand that, certain sports bring in different, terms of revenue, but the issue of getting that equal opportunity to showcase your sport on a major national station, on a major national channel, that continues to be another fight that a lot of these quote unquote smaller sports are trying to fight.
I remember, might have been over a decade ago, former UCLA men's volleyball coach Al Skates, the other Wooden of Westwood, a Wizard of Westwood, if you will, with all his national championships. He had said he had grave concern for men's Olympic sports in college because with Title IX and gender equity, there has been this move for more female participation. And any school that has football with 85 scholarships, you're going to have to boost up, and schools have had to, University of Hawaii has had to boost up sports to equal that participation number, which means men's sports sometimes would take the fall. And he specifically said men's Olympic sports, volleyball being one of them. And we are seeing, although that was said so long ago, we have seen, and I think Stanford is one, a BCS conference, major conference school with lots of money, choosing to drop a successful program in men's volleyball. And, there's that concern there. Now, are the sports going to suddenly be whittled away because of pandemic too, financial elements?
Definitely. And I mean, we totally get Title IX, in full agreement. I'm all for having women's sports on TV as much as possible, if not every single game. I have no problem with that. Yeah,
I mean, I support it too, but there's a little bit of that, boys, some men's sports may fall victim, and who knows the financial situation, how schools can recover from these past two academic years, this year and last year, pandemic wise, and hopefully by next academic year, fans and everything can start getting back into gear so schools can recoup some of their own personal revenue and be able to.
Or you know what, if I know some may disagree with this, but maybe, does football really need 85 scholarships? Do you really need to have your fourth and fifth string QB on a full ride? Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, that'll be a tough sell, but that's true. Do they need 85? Could they just do it with 80? Hey, that's a lot of scholarships, right?
Yep.
Hey, well, that's been a good podcast. And thank you to Charlie Wade, national championship head coach for the University of Hawaii men's volleyball team. Hope you get some sleep. By the way, I'm looking at the background on your screen there. Is that food? Is that snacks that you have there?
Yeah. Well, I got Swedish fish because I'm a talking blabbing head for sometimes 2.5-3 hours, and Thank you, men's volleyball. It was only a 93-minute match last week, Saturday, for the title. Not a lot of cough drops were used in that match.
Yeah, I know Charlie did mention 93 minutes. He knew exactly how long it took for his team to win. But congratulations to them. Also, our condolences and the memories of Colt Brennan. His legacy will continue on in a very positive light here at the University of Hawaii. So until next podcast, Tiff, thanks again. Great call, as always, on the national championship game and throughout the entire season of volleyball. Hope we'll have women's volleyball as well next season. But till our next podcast.
They just got another recruit. They just signed their 5th recruit for 2021.
That's right. Men's volleyball doesn't need any more recruits. I think they had about 40 people in the gym anyway. So, but till next time, as always, we like to tell people,
wear that mask, be socially distant,
and stay safe. Till next time.
Bye-bye.